Hey guys, welcome to your channel. We are going to discuss some important Hindu articles today. Before that, let's see some important economic terms from today's Hindu newspaper article. One important economic term is macroprudential indicators. What is macroprudential indicators? These are some kind of indicators which evaluate the health of a financial institution in terms of their exposure to financial risks, any kind of economic risk. Means to what extent a financial institution can withstand the possibility of any kind of economic risk. It is measured by macroprudential indicators. And you might find question in prelims that which of the following is not included in macroprudential indicators. Capital adequacy, asset quality, management performance, profitability, liquidity, etc. comes under this. Another important term is Bank Board Bureau. Board Bureau was established as an autonomous body as a part of Indradhanush program. Indradhanush program was undertook by government to improve the performance of the public sector banks, and as a part of this program, actually Bank Board Bureau was established, and it recommends selection of banking management as well as government-owned financial institution. Keep one thing in mind, this Bank Board Bureau only deals with public sector banks and government owned financial institutions. This is not dealt with private banks. So coming to the article resolving India's banking crisis, this article explains the root of the non-performing asset of public sector banks and also brings a very important issue that whether public sector banks should be privatized in front of its growing non-performing asset or whether it should be worked under the current framework of public ownership. To understand this, to find a solution for this question, we have to first know two things. That what is the root of a non-performing asset? And is corruption and incompetency is the only factor that contributes to non-performing asset of public sector banks? While finding answer of the root of non-performing asset, it is a multi-dimensional issue because it revolves around various factors. For example, dampen industrial sectors means to what sectors public sector banks have provided loan, they becomes outdated and they becomes low. They are facing loss due to various factors. Legal entanglement, global economy, and RBI norms which causes lack of capital in the public sector banks. While coming to the dampening industrial sectors, the sectors which actually mainly cause losses to the public sector banks in terms of non-performing asset are infrastructure, telecom, mining, iron, steel, textile, and aviation. These are some major sectors which have caused much more non-performing asset to public sector banks because these are main sectors to which public sector banks have provided loan, resulting in the non-performing assets. And the important thing is that why these sectors have faced loss in terms of economy, why these sectors have faced loss currently. This is a very important question because the answer of this question not only throws light on the non-performing asset, but the laws faced by this sector also throws light on some other related issues actually. For example, infrastructure. In case of infrastructure, what happened? The issue of the controversy of land acquisition. The land acquisition controversy actually causing major concern to the infrastructure, eventually causing more losses. And it has also not that means what? Means land acquisition rules. Land acquisition controversy is a major setback to the industries related with the infrastructure. In this way, we have found here two views: one to non-performing asset, and one another the cause of the cause of the losses of other industries. In that telecom, in case of telecom, some kind of corruption and the resulting court procedure and some kind of court judgments which have adversely affected the profit sharing method of the telecom companies. Right, these are in that mining, iron, steel, textile, aviation. Right, all these industries have faced loss because of some legal entanglement, complex laws, complex court judgments which are against their profit sharing method. In this way, these actually the losses of these sectors have contributed to the non-performing asset in public sector banks, because these are the main sectors which have taken loan from the public sector banks. They have substantially contributed to the non-performing asset in public sector banks. In that way, dampen industrial sectors along with legal entanglement, global economy, and tighten RBI norms have contributed to the root of non-performing asset. And from this viewpoint, if we consider this thing, then after that we can say that privatization is not the only solution to lessen the non-performing asset of banks, because there is no link of this root of non-performing asset with privatization. There is no established link that only privatization can reduce the non-performing asset of public sector banks in terms of these factors. Right. So first we have seen that what is the root of non-performing asset, and we have seen that the major root of non-performing asset are some loss-making industrial sectors which are facing loss due to some environmental concerns, due to some land acquisition concerns, or due to some court judgments. And there is no established role that privatization can bring some kind of relief to these sectors. And that is why from this viewpoint, privatization is not the only panacea in this case. And coming to the corruption and incompetency. Why privatization is needed? Because public sector bank faces corruption and incompetency. To find solution, to find answer of this question, first we have to keep view of the governance of the public sector banks. Is there any inadequacy in terms of incompetency or the governance of public sector banks? Of course, there is some incompetency, because at present scenario, public sector banks are much more exposed to some kind of more businessmen, particular groups, who is actually tends to the decision-making power of the banking management in a much more favorable way towards them. And that is why there is a need of including much more professional management board in the public sector banks. And that is a professional bank board. You have to mention about the bank board bureau, as I mentioned earlier, right? That whether bank board bureau can add to a much more professional banking management board in the public sector banks, whether there should be a limitation of the excessive exposure to businessman sector, which leads some favorable decision, which brings some kind of nepotism between businessmen and banking official, leading to corruption. Right. In that way, macroprudential indicators. That means what? The RBI must have to set up some macroprudential indicators frequently to determine the risks of the public sector banks. In that way, lack of capitalization. Government must have to provide capital to the government must have to infuse capital to the public sector banks time to time to immune the banks from any kind of economic risks. In that way, we have to read the article from this perspective, that whether privatization is the only solution for private sector banks, and whether privatization can give solution to the root of NPA and corruption and incompetency. Though privatization can provide some kind of relief in the second factor, but in the first factor, privatization has very nominal role. Even in the second factor, rather than making public sector banks into a private institute, there are many other alternative options which can be used to increase the efficiency of public sector banks and thereby lessening the amount of non-performing assets. Another important article is New Clouds over the Persian Gulf. This article discusses the possibility that what will happen if Iran withdraws from the P5+1 agreement. What is P5+1 agreement? It is a nuclear agreement which has been signed between Iran and P5+1. P5+1 means 5 permanent membership of Security Council and Germany. So throughout this agreement, Iran actually was committed to reduce its nuclear enrichment. It imposes restrictions on nuclear enrichment of civil nuclear program of Iran, and throughout this agreement actually International Atomic Energy Agency was given access to inspect the nuclear facility programs of Iran, so that Iran could not develop any kind of nuclear enrichment program beyond the civilian purposes. But recently, at a recent scenario, Iran also threatens to withdraw from this agreement. And if Iran withdraws, then what will be its impact? To know the impact, first we have to understand that what are the allies and foes of Iran in Middle East. First, we have to see the impact of the neighborhood. And after that, we can see the impact on distant neighborhood. Coming to the allies, we know India is the very strong ally. India, Syria, Russia, and Lebanon. These are some major allies of Iran in West Asia. Even Iran is supporting the regime of Bashar al-Assad in Syria. And coming to the foes, it is called that the US is the big shaitan of Iran, and Saudi Arabia is the small shaitan of Iran. Though both Iran and Saudi Arabia are Muslim communities, but they have various differences on the religious sect. One is Shia, one is Sunni, while Iran is totally Persian Muslims. Saudi Arabia has Arab Muslims. In that way, Israel. These three are most prominent foes of Iran right from the time of the Iranian Revolution, more or less. Right. So if we want to know the impacts on Middle East, impacts on the world, then first we have to know which ally is which ally can help Iran up to what extent, what is the most important, what is the most powerful ally of Iran, and what is the most powerful enemy of the Iran. We have to know these things first. Obviously, Russia and even Turkey is also, though Turkey is also a supporter, ally of USA, but recently Turkey is also growing to be allied with Iran, right, in a recent scenario. So one is Russia is the very strong, Russia and Syria, these are very two strong ally of Iran. Right, so what might be some possible impacts? That if Iran withdraws from this agreement, then there will be no authority to control the nuclear enrichment program of Iran. Iran will not be committed to any kind of binding on nuclear program. So Iran will develop her nuclear program as her own way in association with her strong allies like Russia and Syria as well as, right. So what might be the possible impacts? That West Asian and Middle East political scenario will be changed as a result of the withdrawal of Iran from this agreement. Nuclear powered country, Iran will become a nuclear powered country. More unrest in Middle East happen already. Syria is contributing to unrest.